Happening now, Pennsylvania qualifies for New York's COVID-19 travel advisory. What does this mean for us? Plus, why the city of Jamestown's council will be considering a raise in parking violations.
And it's been a wet go much of the morning. The rain is going to continue through the afternoon and tomorrow. I'll let you know where it's going next as the news at noon starts right now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now as we start a brand new week. I'm Justin Gould. Now that Pennsylvania is qualified to be added to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's COVID-19 travel advisory, area officials say it could be a problem for local residents. State Senator George Borrello tells us Cuomo needs to take a more balanced stance and consider a regional or county-by-county approach as opposed to a one-size-fits-all policy, and that Warren County is practically part of the community on a regional basis. He raises concerns that people who work in one state and live in the other will be impacted along with a still struggling economy.
And that goes back to the idea of going county by county, region by region, and determining whether or not these lockdowns are necessary. Certainly, people would argue, well, if you do it county by county, it's going to encourage people to move from one county to the next. But it's again a very narrow-minded view. If you start talking about people that work in manufacturing, I have a brother-in-law who works in manufacturing in Erie, but he lives in Chautauqua County, and so now he goes back and forth. And like I said, are we encouraging people now to be concerned about that unnecessarily?
Now, Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist says if the Keystone State is added to the list, there should be a control exemption for employees commuting from New York to Pennsylvania. Cuomo is expected to add PA to the list officially either later today or more likely tomorrow. Reporters did not get a chance to ask him about it during his COVID-19 press call update this morning. Well, we're working to learn more about two separate shootings that happened in the city of Jamestown overnight. Viewers report that shootings occurred near 7th and Lincoln Streets, as well as Forest Avenue at Columbia Avenue. They say the SWAT team was dispatched to the scene, but there is no word on injuries or if anyone was arrested. Police tell us that more information is expected to be released soon. We'll provide that when it becomes available at WNYNewsNow.com. Well, it's a critical week for that continuous stimulus bill. The Republican-led Senate has scheduled 2 votes this week on a plan that could bring some relief to millions of people during the pandemic. But House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has issued a warning that may impact any chance of passing the bill before the November election. Meredith Wood has the latest on the negotiation efforts.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is issuing a deadline for negotiations around a stimulus bill that could help millions of struggling Americans.
We're saying to them, we have to freeze the design on some of these things. Are we going with it or not? And what is the language? They took out 55% of the language that we had there for testing and tracing.
After months of back and forth talks with Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, Pelosi now warning that lawmakers need to get answers to key questions by the end of the day on Tuesday, or there won't be enough time to get a bill passed before the election.
I want to do it at a bigger number than she wants. That doesn't mean all the Republicans agree with me, but I think they will in the end. If she would go along, I think they would too.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced there would be 2 votes on this week. That includes a Tuesday vote on a standalone Paycheck Protection Program bill to help small businesses, and Wednesday's vote on a $500 billion stimulus bill Democrats blocked last month. Democrats have been pushing for a larger bill, more than $2 trillion, and are expected to block McConnell's effort.
We haven't seen Majority Leader McConnell's text. So it probably includes a get-out-of-jail-free card for every employer in the country, regardless of whether they've been reckless or responsible.
The urgency to strike a deal comes at a time when unemployment levels are high, small businesses are shuttering, and direct payments and enhanced unemployment insurance that may help keep families afloat have ended. I'm Meredith Wood reporting.
Meredith, thank you. Congressman Tom Reed's Problem Solvers Caucus has been pushing both sides to reach a deal for several months now. Well, Jamestown City Council will be considering a resolution tonight that would raise parking rates and the licensing fee for a business parking spot downtown. Mayor Eddie Sundquist made the proposal to the council, which will be discussed at the work session meeting. The resolution would also raise parking ticket fees. We reached out to Sundquist this morning for more. He tells us that the parking violations lag behind other cities right now.
Currently one of the lowest in Western New York at 50 cents per hour. Cities are around $2 to $2.50 per hour for on-street parking. In addition, we are looking at the potential to remove the free zone in the city. Some of the things we are hearing from business owners is that the majority of the free zone is being used by owners and other owners as well as employees. And there's really not enough turnover.
Now, parking violations would increase from $10 to $15 under the resolution. Sundquist says that the city hasn't increased the fine since 2013, when the fine was raised from $5 to $10. The proposed increase, if approved, would start January 1. Well, we thank you for joining us here for WNY News Now as we kick off a new week. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Let's check in with the comments and say hello to Ron. Good to see Lori. Good to see Stephen. Wendy, thanks so much for tuning in here today. Great to see Stacy, Jay, Joanna, Dave, and Michael as well. And certainly that our story we had at the top is on the top of minds of many. If you're just joining us, New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo hasn't officially announced that Pennsylvania has been added to the COVID-19 travel advisory list. However, according to the metrics that he uses to compile that list and create changes and updates to it every Tuesday, Pennsylvania currently qualifies to be on that list, along with a few other states nationwide. This would be the first time that Pennsylvania has qualified to be on the COVID-19 travel advisory list. Now, the one thing to keep in mind about the list, which we did talk to New York State Senator George Borrello at the top of the show about, is that people who commute back and forth, it does create a little bit of confusion. However, as long as you're not within the state for 24 hours, according to rules from the governor's office, then you should be okay to come back without necessarily quarantining. Either way, Pennsylvania has a big influence on the local economy. We'll, of course, continue to stay on this and bring updates when we can. Well, Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter is back from some much-needed R&R. Happy Monday to you. Great to have you back, Dakota. I love Andrew. He did such a great job, but I missed you, my friend.
Oh, I missed you too, and I missed everybody here, and I mostly missed you guys, the viewers, and of course, thank you guys for all the wishes and stuff on Facebook. I mean, it was a wonderful week off, but now it's time to get back into the grind. Live look over the Mill Creek Mall in Erie, and yeah, the rain has been coming down. Basically, much of this morning it's been on again, off again rain. 0.04 of an inch has been gauged at this particular camera site, which sits at the water tower at the Mill Creek Mall. There's the radar for you. You can see the rain basically just encompassing much of the region this morning, and this is going to be pretty much the rain here pretty much throughout the entire day here. It's going to be scattered to widespread showers throughout the day. So if you have anything planned for outdoors today, forget about it. It's not going to happen. 57 degrees was the high yesterday. We started at 45 this morning. 81 and 19 are the record highs and lows for this day. Sit at the airport. 48 here in town. 51 Mayville. 49 in Fredonia. 50 Dunkirk. 48 in Harbor Creek. 50 in Randolph. Good afternoon to you. And 45 over in Olean. These are likely going to be our high temperatures for today. Just tack on maybe a couple more degrees. That'll do it. Scattered to widespread showers through the day. A couple of moderate to heavy downpours are possible. Patchy fog through the day. Temperatures not budging much from essentially where they are now, 48 to 55 with a southeast wind averaging 4 to 9 miles per hour. The rain continues tomorrow, though we get a little bit of a warm-up going by the time we go into the end of the week. I'll talk about it in detail in a few. Justin?
All right, Dakota, thank you. Cattaraugus County officials announced yesterday that a 14th resident has died from COVID complications and 4 new cases have been reported. Officials say a 65-year-old woman was unable to overcome respiratory issues and succumbed to the illness. Now, in related news, state leaders have established a draft vaccine policy to be implemented once the federal government has one to offer. The plan prioritizes the order of who would be vaccinated, with first priority going to healthcare workers, long-term care facility workers, and those most at risk for COVID-19. Now, other phases of the vaccine protocol include first responders, teachers, and school staff, along with child care providers, public health workers, those over 65, and those who are younger than 65 with high-risk conditions. Well, state officials over the weekend announced ski resorts and some movie theaters around the state will be able to reopen soon. The governor's office says that movie theaters outside of NYC can reopen at 25% capacity under new guidelines starting this Friday. However, Chautauqua, Cattaraugus, and Allegheny counties are currently not eligible to reopen them. The main reason why is because the areas have COVID-19 infection rates above 2%. Leaders also announced yesterday that ski resorts can begin to reopen starting in November. Masks will be required at all times except for when eating, drinking, and hitting the slopes. Well, coming up, what early voting trends can mean for this fall's election. But first, Congressman Tom Reed spent the weekend in Jamestown. We check in with him and his campaign as WNY News Now continues.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
I'm Jason Schmidt. I'm a former felony prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney here in Chautauqua County. I've worked both sides of the system for the past 15 years. I'm the only candidate endorsed by local law enforcement. Police here in Chautauqua County, you know what's going on. Each year here in Chautauqua County, the police make about 1,000 felony arrests. In 2019, only 17.4% of those arrests resulted in felony convictions. I know how to fix the problems, and that's why I'm running for district attorney.
As a former county executive, I know exactly the challenges and opportunities that we have here in Chautauqua County. That's why I'm very proud to support P.J. Wendell for county executive. His knowledge, his experience, and his leadership are exactly what we need at this moment in time. I would ask you all to please support P.J. Wendell for county executive.
Wendell has the experience, he's got the leadership, and he's got the knowledge and ability.
One of the most important characteristics of a successful county executive is being able to surround themselves with the right people for the right situation. And that is exactly what P.J. Wendell has done. Having direct experience in county government is absolutely critical, and no one should start out as county executive with having no experience at all with county government. So P.J. Wendell brings that experience both as a long-term legislator and a former chairman of the legislature. He has my 100% support.
For the past 9 years, I've been a prosecutor right here in Chautauqua County, fighting to keep this community safe. My family lives here with me in Fredonia, and I grew up in Sherman, New York. Fighting to make sure that these communities stay safe is so very important to me. We have the highest caseload of any county in this state, and as your district attorney, I'm dedicated to making sure that each case gets handled the right way for not only the victims, but for the people that live in this county. I'm fully invested in this community, and I'm fully invested in this community's future. Vote Patrick Swanson for Chautauqua County District Attorney.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
Congressman Tom Reed spent the day Saturday campaigning here in Jamestown. The representative for New York's 23rd Congressional District went door to door talking with residents on the city's north side. Now, Reed says many people he spoke to were concerned about the future of the nation.
They expressed to me the concern about making sure that we're a voice of bringing people together. It resonates with me and tells me we're on the right path with our Problem Solvers Caucus work and trying to unite the country for the better.
Now, the representative walked with his campaign staff and volunteers, some of who are high school students that will be voting for the first time this fall. The congressman wore face coverings, practiced social distancing, and respected residents' comfort level while visiting their home. Reed is running against Democrat challenger Tracy Matrano in November 3rd's general election for New York's 23rd congressional seat. Meanwhile, the number of voters turning out for early voting in some states is shattering records. Long lines were seen in key swing states over the weekend. The number of ballots cast so far grew to more than 22 million. And while the largest early voting numbers may point to a record turnout in this election, experts say the trends may not tell us much about who will win the race for the White House. Meredith Wood takes a closer look.
Voting early in record numbers. In 45 states and D.C., more than 22 million ballots have been cast so far.
What we're doing, standing and letting your voice be heard, is important.
Experts say the latest ballot data shows there are a lot more people voting early than ever before, and Democrats are voting early at a much higher level than Republicans. This week, voters in states where early voting has begun have been waiting in line for hours to cast their ballots. That detailed voting information comes from Catalyst, a data company that provides data analytics and other services to Democrats, academics, and nonprofit issue advocacy organizations.
I'd rather be out here doing my civic duty than not. I don't trust the whole mail-in voting thing, so I will be here and I will sign it and make sure it goes where it needs to go.
Meanwhile, we're also seeing a high number of absentee ballot requests. Experts say the surge is due in part to the pandemic. So what do the numbers reveal about a possible election result? One expert says there's no history of early voting during a pandemic, but the trends are telling.
At this point, 4 years ago, far less people were voting early, just about 7 million folks. Now we're up to over 22 million, so triple the number of people have voted so far in this election than the equivalent point 4 years ago.
But he cautions just because we know the party affiliation of the voters returning ballots in some states doesn't mean we know who they're voting for. And we can't really predict who is going to actually show up on Election Day. I'm Meredith Wood reporting.
Meredith, thank you. Early voting starts this Saturday here locally at the Chautauqua Mall, the Fairgrounds in Dunkirk, and the County Board of Elections office in Mayville. Well, an area resident says that this election will be very important across all levels of government. WNY News Now spoke with David Reinhardt, a Jamestown man who previously ran for a seat on the county legislature during a meet and greet Friday afternoon at Brooklyn Square. He tells us that voters should be doing research into each candidate before casting their ballot.
This election is probably I've been voting since the last 20 years. This is probably the most important election that I've going to vote in. And I think it's very important that everyone gets out, learns about the candidates, finds which ones align with their morals, with their integrity, with what they believe.
Reinhardt says that he expects to be involved in more pop-up events later this month in an effort to get people to participate in the process. And speaking of, if the election were today, we're asking you, who would you vote for? You can vote anonymously at WNYNewsNow.com/poll. That's POLL, WNYNewsNow.com/poll. We also want to know how you'll be voting, either via absentee ballot, early voting, or in person. Well, local law enforcement are urging residents to clear their homes of potentially dangerous, expired, or unused and unwanted prescription drugs this weekend. The Chautauqua County Sheriff's Office, along with local police departments and the Federal Drug Enforcement Administration, are joining forces for National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2. Now, medicines that deteriorate over time in home cabinets are highly susceptible to diversion, misuse, and abuse. Studies show that a majority of abused prescription pills are obtained from family members or friends through their medicine cabinet. In addition, Americans are now advised that disposing methods like flushing them down the toilet or drain does pose potential hazards to the environment. A full list of drop-off sites for this Saturday's event, along with permanent locations around town, are posted on our site, WNYNewsNow.com. Well, we thanks you all for joining us here for WNY News Now as we start off a new week, albeit a little wet out there. Good to see Gary, Brittany, Jacqueline, Sue, and Shelby as well. Hopefully you all are having a great day. We thank you so much for tuning in. Let us know what you're thinking about in the comments down below. Well, let's now get a check of our First Defense weather forecast. Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter is back in the First Defense Weather Center.
What? Where am I?
Right. It now says it on the wall behind you.
Yeah, I know. I noticed this when I came in today.
It looks pretty good.
Well, actually, my big fat head's in the way, so there you go.
There you go. That's
nice... the one thing I'm sure you didn't miss was my gigantic George Lopez head.
We love your head.
Yeah. You just can't fit this much sexiness into a head that's any smaller. Let's go into the weather. And I talked about this over the weekend. I handled the weekend shift, so that way Andrew Stevenson could have the weekend off, well-deserved weekend off. So NOAA on last Thursday, had finally talked about their winter outlook. And if you watched web weather over the weekend, I talked about this, how I am not a big fan of these seasonal long-range weather outlooks. I don't believe there's a lot of skill that we have in our science to accurately predict these things. But for what it's worth, this is the official outlook that was released by NOAA. And they are going with a greater than 33% chance of a warmer than average winter. How do they get that number empirically? I don't know. Nobody knows. But in terms of the precipitation, they have an equal chance for seeing around average precipitation for the winter. Now, does this mean this winter is going to be the warmest winter on record? Nobody knows. Is it going to be the coldest winter on record? Nobody knows. Are we going to have 8 feet of snow in 2 days? Nobody knows. So use these as a guide, very rough guide. And of course, we'll be here keeping you updated as the weather events do unfold, as we always do. Rainfall totals over the past, over the past 12 hours here. These are Doppler radar estimated rainfall amounts. As you well know, First Defense Doppler has the, it has the exclusive ability to estimate how much rainfall has fallen. And it's going right around a ½ inch, right across much of, essentially much of Chautauqua County. But don't take those numbers to the bank. Those are Doppler radar estimates, not the actual rainfall that came down. So your total, if you happen to have a rain gauge, may vary. And if you do have a rain gauge, send us those reports. And again, we want to know how much rain has fallen in your backyard. First Defense Doppler radar shows you the rain that's been moving pretty much northeast throughout the region. And this is all in association with the cold front that passed on through. And you can see it here. This is just a line of showers extending from that cold front, which has already passed. And if you look a little bit further to the west, there's this white and blue stuff popping up here. That's the SNOW. It's already popping up here in the Midwest. So you know when it's getting close, the time is getting close. We're getting around the average time of our first snowflakes around here. So yeah, got to be the bearer of bad news. Future scan shows you the rain, which is going to continue throughout much of the day today. Now, as we get into tonight, the widespread rain will continue. So it's just going to be a gentle soaking rain, which we need because we're running way below average for rainfall around here. And again, notice how the model does paint a few pockets of moderate to heavy rain, especially overnight and then early tomorrow. Now, the rain tomorrow is going to be mainly in the morning. Future scan actually tries to dry us out completely for the later afternoon, but there still will be a few scattered showers around for tomorrow. And then as we head into Wednesday, scattered showers will redevelop again with moderate to heavy downpours likely once again. But it's all rain we need, but we don't need it coming, at the same time. Spaced out's a good thing. So zone forecast, the Lake Erie shoreline today, warmer spot here, likely mid to upper 50s. That's it. It's just a typical fall day in Western New York. The inland areas here, a little cooler here, maybe Olean, only 47 degrees. So just stay indoors. Stay indoors and get a cuddle buddy with you as well. How about the next 7 days of your life that are coming up right now, powered by 42 degrees and sunny, 53 tomorrow, 67 on Wednesday. We do start to warm up a little bit as we go into the middle and later part of the week. How about 72 on Friday? The sun is back. That's going to feel nice. And the weekend as it stands now should be mainly dry, but temperatures going back into the mid to upper 50s. Justin?
All right, Dakota, thank you. I'll take that 72 on Friday.
We know you will.
Well, here's a look out over Chautauqua Lake. It's pretty wet out there now. Coming up next, how school buses will soon have cameras to peer through that rain to record drivers who passed their stop signs. Stay with us as WNY News Now continues.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
First Defense Weather is sponsored by 42 Degrees and Sunny, smokin' deals on smoking accessories. Learn more at 42degreesandsunny.com. That's 42degreesandsunny.com.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvanna Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer, plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
I'm Jason Schmidt. I'm a former felony prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney here in Chautauqua County. Each year here in Chautauqua County, the police make about 1,000 felony arrests. In 2019, only 17.4% of those arrests resulted in felony convictions. It means that in less than 2 out of 10 serious crimes, the victims of those cases receive justice. 17.4% is not a number that's acceptable for me and my family. It certainly isn't good enough for yours.
Hi, I'm George Borrello, and I'm proud to serve as your senator for New York's 57th Senate District. In fact, in my first year, I've passed many pieces of legislation as well as helping people and businesses in these challenging times. From fighting for a safe, common-sense reopening of our state's economy during the COVID-19 pandemic to continuing the push for the repeal of the state's flawed criminal justice changes, which have made us all less safe, I am working hard for you every day as your state senator. Your vote will help me continue my mission to boost New York's economy, struggling from the COVID shutdown, and for small businesses not just to survive, but thrive. I will also continue to hold the government accountable by reviewing policies that led to the tragic nursing home deaths statewide. I'm proud to represent our beautifully diverse region, and I will be honored to have your vote on Tuesday, November 3rd, so that I can continue my work fighting for you. It's not about rhetoric, it's about results.
Paid for by Borrello for Senate.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back. Fulfilling a year-old law to catch drivers illegally passing stopped school buses, the Jamestown Public School District is now entering negotiations with the city to install and pay for cameras on their buses. School officials have already discussed the issue with city officials, but now they're going to negotiate. The plan calls for the city or a designated vendor to pay the installation costs, but then also receive any fine money from tickets for those illegally passing stopped buses. Now, drivers caught on camera passing through a stopped bus would face a $250 fine, with the increased fines for repeat offenders. Well, we thank you for joining us here for WNY News Now as we get a check of all your local news and weather headlines. And I think today, Dakota, everybody's wondering, when will the rain come to an end? We like the rain in some senses, but in other senses, to me, it just seems like it's reiterating that fall's coming.
Well, I think just think of it this way. You had a wonderful weekend. I mean, the weekend was mainly dry, minus yesterday night when the rain started. So what are y'all complaining about? I mean, we've had great days of sunshine. I mean, yes, it's been a little cloudy here and there, but we haven't had rain in a while. What do you people want?
It's true. I think that's the hardest job, the weatherman.
I mean, geez. We give you sunshine, you complain. We give you rain, you complain.
I don't complain about sunshine.
Well, I'm just saying, let's go to tonight's forecast.
Don't misquote me.
Well, how about we go to, first day back and already I'm wound up. Let's take a look at tonight's forecast and see if anybody else out there has any complaints about this. Widespread rain showers overnight tonight, moderate to heavy downpours. Patchy fog will be likely 45 to 52, not dipping off much by the morning. Is that good enough for you, Justin?
It's good enough for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. At least it's not freezing out there yet.
Well,
so I'll take it.
Not yet.
Not yet. He says not yet.
It's coming. Don't worry.
Dakota, thank you.
You're welcome.
Here's a live look over downtown Jamestown. We are back tomorrow live here at noon. Hope to see you then.